Hello, I'm Steve Gibbs. I'm a solution engineer for Sage X3, and I'm going to be taking us through this demonstration of Sage Data and Analytics, or what we also refer to as SDNA. Let's start out with a couple of slides that provide an overview of the SDNA solution. As the name implies, Sage Data and Analytics consist of two key components. There's a data management component and then an analytics component. Let's talk a little about data management. With the data management component, you're going to be able to connect and collect data from any sources across the business. You'll have access to your ERP data, of course, whether it be Sage X3, Sage 100, Sage 300. You can connect to other data sources such as historical ERP data that may be residing in systems like Dynamics, Infor, or QuickBooks. That'll allow us to take historical data and display it alongside live data coming from your ERP system. We can connect to cloud data sources like Salesforce. We can connect to the good old spreadsheet, Microsoft Excel, CSV files. Databases such as Microsoft SQL Server and Oracle, we can connect to those systems. Examples of other data sources you may want to connect to could include things like HR systems, maybe CRM data. We talked about Salesforce.com. Maybe you got data living in another CRM system to which you need to connect. Maybe you have machine data or equipment data that you need to read that data, load it in, and do analytics on it, and display it on business dashboards. So with SDNA, you'll be able to connect to those various data sources. You'll be able to prepare this data for reporting, whether it be creating calculations that you need to support reporting, defining field names, running data through cross-reference tables to cleanse the data and prepare it for reporting. SDNA is going to allow you to integrate all these data sources and ultimately govern your data. And that's going to ensure that only individuals who have access to the data for which they should have access, that's all they have access to. From an analytics standpoint, SDNA is delivered with over 500 out-of-the-box reports, KPIs, charts, and calculations that come standard out of the box. You'll be able to use these as they come, or modify or tailor these to meet unique needs of the business. And of course, you can use the analytics solution to build entirely new reports and dashboards and charts as well. The solution is friendly with Power BI and Tableau. So if you already own one of those solutions, or maybe you have resources who have extensive knowledge with these tools, that's an option as well. Now, why is data management so important? And I think this slide helps kind of articulate some of those reasons. I'm going to focus on just two key data points from this slide. This study was done by the Harvard Business Review, and they determined that an analyst spends 80% of their time discovering and preparing data. And so this is someone responsible for creating dashboards and reports for a business, and they're putting 80% of their time into finding the data and preparing it for reporting purposes. So having that data management component that comes with SDNA is absolutely essential. That's very different than many of the BI only, analytics only type solutions in the marketplace. They're going to allow you to build great reports and dashboards, but if they don't let you manage the data effectively with a world-class data management tool, that's not solving 80% of the problem here. So with SDNA, we can take that 80%, lower the amount of time that an analyst is putting into collecting the data so that more time can be spent reviewing and making better decisions off the data for your business. The other key thing is, as part of the study, they found that more than 70% of employees have access to data that they shouldn't. So with SDNA, you're going to be able to collect all the data across the entire business, not just ERP, but other data sources like we talked about, and then secure that so that individuals only have access to the data that they should. And that's all done through a single version of the truth with SDNA. So let's jump in and take a look at the SDNA solution. I'm going to start out by reviewing some dashboards from within Sage X3. After this, we'll make some changes to some reports to show you how reports can be modified and created easily. And then lastly, we'll do a quick review of the data management capabilities. So let's take a look. A couple of key points regarding the analytics. Every report, dashboard, chart, any analytics that I show you can be viewed in any browser or device. So that's going to include tablets, mobile phones, Browsers like Google Chrome here, or if you happen to have Macintosh users running Safari, that will work as well. And everything can be viewed either from within the ERP application X3 here or outside. There's no requirement that this content be viewed from within X3. Even though I'm using X3 for the demonstration, it's important to note that if you're using other Sage ERP packages like 100 or 300, the solution is identical. And most of the dashboards that I show you are the same. So let's review our first dashboard, the Enterprise Dashboard. This dashboard highlights some key metrics from across many areas of the business. So let's go ahead and snap this dashboard out to a separate tab to get a better view of it. So I've got a combination of charts. So I've got a chart over here of overdue receivables. Got some KPIs in the center here. I've got a yield KPI showing what my yields are for any production that I've done for the periods of time that I've selected. Delivery performance, am I getting product to my customers on time and in full? Standard liquidity ratios. Top 10 most profitable customers. Yield trends with a trend line of yields over a period of time. Gross margin information here over a period of time. And I've plotted some data on a map, which is a capability. This data that's plotted on a map could represent actual sales. Maybe it represents sales opportunities. We talk about leveraging data management. Maybe you load in sales opportunities for a business that you have not yet won yet, and you want to see where your concentrations of sales opportunities exist, locally here in the U.S. or globally for that matter. That's an example of data that could be plotted on maps. Every dashboard includes what we call slicers. So across the top, there's various options that I can use to select what data shows up on the dashboard. So as an example, I've got an organization hierarchy here where I've got different companies, like a discrete company with different sites below that. I've got a process manufacturing company and different sites below that. These roll up to different regions. I've got US, a country, rolling up to a region, North America. I've got EMEA and different countries under this. And I can make selections. Let's go ahead and add EMEA in. You'll notice what happens is the underlying data changes based on that selection I made. So we'll go ahead and take EMEA off. And this is just an example of one type of slicer that you can include on a dashboard. Another important point to note is that all the reporting in SD&A is based on hierarchies like we're seeing here, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. You may roll your organization up multiple ways. Maybe we're looking at it geographically here. Maybe you look at it by lines of business, and you have another hierarchy that you use. So you can have an unlimited number of hierarchies in the system for different types of data, like your organization. Customer channels is another good example. I've got my customers rolling up into different channels. I got a professionals channel, an individuals channel, end user, and these would represent whatever channels you may go to market with. Product categories, same things. You can take the products that you sell, roll those up into different categories. I think I've got multiple levels here. I've got bike products that I sell underneath that. I've got a different set of categories. Go down another layer, and ultimately I'll make my way down to different SKUs. And just like we saw with the organization hierarchy, I can make selections here to change what products, what sales show up for different products based on the selections that I make. All the analytics are drillable. So as an example, if I want to learn more about the overdue receivables, this is a large bucket of outstanding receivables that are more than 150 days past due. I can just drill down on that. This will take me down to kind of a next level where I can see what balances are for specific customers. Hover over here, I can see Amalgamated Supply owes me $688,000. That's their outstanding balance. And if I wanted to, I could drill down to the transaction level. Let's say I want to drill down on my top 10 most profitable customers. We'll pick Amalgamated again. Margins are a little lower than I would like to see, although they're in the top 10 list. So let's go ahead and drill down here. This now shows me a set of sales categorized by different products that they purchase. So I've sold them some IT products and some other products in an all category. I can further drill down and pick individual invoices. In this case here, we'll pick this invoice transaction. This is a sales invoice, and it will take me back into X3. At this point, I'm back in X3. If I need to view any supporting information like attachments, you'll notice I have an attachment because of this orange or red dot that's next to the paperclip. I have an attachment on this. Maybe it's a purchase order from the customer. I could view that. From here, I could view other related information, like any payments the customer has made, or you even go back the other direction and look at things like the sales order or the delivery that was made to the customer. So just note that all the dashboards are drillable down to the lowest level of detail or anywhere in between that you'd like. Those are configurations that you can make in SDNA. Let's take a look at another dashboard. I'm going to move on to this Purchasing Manager's dashboard. This is an out-of-the-box dashboard. We can make selections across the top, pick different parts of the organization, different companies. Got different vendor groups here. This categorizes my suppliers based on geography. It's just one way to select suppliers or vendors for your dashboard. I've got different vendor groups here, so I've categorized my suppliers into the different category of products they supply, and I can make selections here. Maybe I want to look at just suppliers of these types of products, and as I make selections, the data is updated accordingly. Think of this dashboard here, even though it's called the Purchasing Manager's dashboard, a lot of customers refer to this as a supplier scorecard. So this kind of gives you the scorecard type information for your suppliers. You could even come in here and do a search, type in the name or maybe just one keyword for one of your key suppliers, type this in, and we'll filter down just to that very specific supplier or any suppliers where we find that keyword. So you can do analysis on a single supplier. Got some key metrics across the top. The cost efficiency metric is very useful, where we're going to compare the prices that you're paying for your purchases for any given suppliers against the standard prices that you've defined, and this will show those variances. Delivery performance, just like we saw earlier, we had a KPI for delivery performance for getting product to our customers. This is on the flip side. Are our suppliers getting us product on time? Quality, do we potentially have any quality issues with any of our suppliers? How much is being returned? What's the amount of the returns? Supplier Pareto. Pareto was credited with inventing the 80-20 rule. So SDNA can do 80-20 analysis. And in this case here, what it helps you focus in on is finding those suppliers that make up 80% of your spend. In this case here, I've got 4 suppliers that make up 80% of my spend, these 4, and then I got the bottom 20. But the logic here is that if I'm going to focus on getting better pricing from my suppliers, I'm going to focus on where 80% of my money is going. It's the 80-20 rule. I may pick different parts of the business and get a listing of 6 or 10 or 12 different suppliers. The point is, this will show you where 80% of your spend is going, and then you can focus in that area because it potentially has the largest return to the business. Top 10 items spending. This report down here at the bottom takes some of these metrics like cost efficiency with the purchase price variances and delivery performance and brings these down to your top 10 vendors. So now we can look at, for these top 10 vendors, what their price variances are, what their delivery performance is, how much have we spent with these various suppliers. A very useful report. If we wanted to, we could open this up and basically show it for all vendors instead of just the top 10. And this is a standard dashboard that we get with SDNA. Sales Manager. Let's look at this one here. There's 2 out-of-the-box sales-focused dashboards, this being one of them. We've got a VP of Sales dashboard. Sales Manager dashboard, we've got a set of similar slicers across the top. Shows my top 5 customers, my top 5 distributors if I happen to sell through distributors. This map here shows sales across the U.S. and different states in which I've sold. And what I can do here is I can pick any state that had sales, like we'll pick Georgia as an example. And when I select Georgia, the other charts and metrics on the dashboard are filtered down to only include those transactions that occurred in Georgia. Pick Florida, the same thing would happen. I can just kind of clear that out. We'll go ahead and reselect all states. So I think that's a nice way to kind of do analysis on your data. This contribution margin chart down here, the bubbles up at the top represent products that have higher margin. So, I can hover over any product to see what the product is and see what the actual margin is. This has a contribution margin of 78%, quite high. The color of the dots here represent the different product categories. So I sell chemical products, toy products, pharmaceutical products. And then the size of the box represents the quantity of sales that I've had for any given products. And then lastly, this chart over here shows sales to my customers, and the customers are categorized by channel. So if I want to, I can kind of drill down further. I can go in and look at specific customers that fall into this individual channel and look at specific customers, see their margins, see how much I've sold them, the cost of the products, and then margins in both a percent and a dollar. AR. Standard dashboard here. It's got open AR item information here in this KPI. We've got charts here that show outstanding overdue receivables and then current receivables. So we break out overdue and current receivables into separate charts. These are actually donut charts. Shape actually kind of looks like a donut with a hole in the center. And then, of course, we break out, based on how past due the items are, we break it out into different slices of the donut. Overall performance, I think one of the most useful metrics in here that I see a lot of customers inquire about is day sales outstanding, where they're really tracking, the length of time that their sales are outstanding using a DSO metric. And this KPI does show that. And then we can kind of look at a trend of some of those metrics, including trends around DSO using this chart here. So over the past, I think it's past 6 months, I can see metrics like day sales outstanding or my best day sales outstanding for these different periods of time. This looks at different customers and kind of my largest open AR items, whether they be overdue or current. So these are those two charts. And then some other charts down here at the bottom. This here shows average days to pay over a time period. So if I look at this red line here, this orange line here, that's going to represent the average days to pay for any period of time shown on this chart. Production dashboard, this is going to show manufacturing capabilities, or I should say manufacturing insights, including status of work orders, how many work orders do I have open, what's been produced for the period of time that I've selected, what's remaining. So anything in blue is what I've achieved or completed. If I had any remaining amounts that were yet to be completed, they would show up in orange for these different products that I'm manufacturing. These are open production orders or work orders. Late work orders here in this chart broken out by how late they are. So if we wanted to, we could drill down on these and see why are they late. Maybe we're waiting on material. Maybe we've got some resource issues and we can't perform the labor we need on the work orders to get better insights onto why various work orders are late. Cost by resource group. So if you take you to different plants, the different areas of those plants and the type of manufacturing that you do, this will give you insights into the cost of those different work centers within your plants. And then this is, last one I'm going to talk about here is this production cost KPI. Shows your actual cost versus your planned cost and then a variance. And this is drillable too, so I can drill down on this. And this will actually now break the cost out by cost type and by product. So here the different rows represent the products that I've manufactured within this period of time. It's actually product categories, and below this are my products. And then we break the cost out. We've got labor cost, machine cost, material, and overhead. So I've got a total cost. And scroll down a little bit. And then this report actually shows planned labor and focuses doing analysis around labor variances. So here I can see my dollar variance and percent variances just on labor. So it's going to take your planned labor, and then it's going to take your labor over here. In this column, my actual labor, do the differences, and it does conditional formatting. So in this case here, labor is way under, that's green. In this case here, labor is over, it's red. So another example of drill down. So I've taken kind of a high-level KPI. Maybe this number is out of the ordinary and I want to drill down. That's maybe a case where you would drill down like I just did. CFO's dashboard. Another out-of-the-box dashboard here. Includes a lot of financial metrics across the top. There's some very common KPIs such as profitability KPIs, return on assets and equity, a liquidity KPI. I get a lot of questions from customers on working capital and working capital ratios. If you implement SD&A, this is out of the box. Leverage ratios. We've got two types of margins. We've got gross margin information shown in this chart here, and then operating margins. Difference here is this is just looking at your sales, your cost of goods sold, and your gross margins. This is looking at the bottom line. These margins here in the operating profit section. Outstanding payables and receivables over different time periods, current balance last month and last year, and then some other charts here, liquidity and leverage ratio shown in these two charts. These are drillable too, so on the gross margin over time, if I wanted to drill down to this and kind of look at this, these details, it's pretty high level. But if I want to drill down and look at these details in a P&L type format, I can do that. Here's a full P&L for that period, showing some useful budget versus actual information for some key KPIs over here. So that is Chief Financial Officer's dashboard. And then lastly, before we move into that designer piece to show you, how we can change and create new reports, I want to talk a little about, some of the reporting capabilities that we have within SD&A. So, first off, this is a budget versus actual report. This report has, the GL accounts set up to roll up into, these different, pyramids that are shown here. So this is another flavor of a hierarchy. I can expand any of these nodes. So I've got my cost of goods sold on this row. If I want to see what GL accounts roll into cost of goods sold, I can expand that. Here are the different GL accounts. This is set up actually in X3 using the pyramid capability. Then again, you can have an unlimited number of pyramids to support different types of reports. Maybe you have to do bank reporting. You got management reporting, maybe investor type reporting. So it's not a one size fits all. The variances here, show differences between your actual amounts and the budgets for the different budgets that you've selected here. We show a dollar variance and a percent variance, and we do conditional formatting. So if revenues are up, that's green. But if expenses are up, like in this case here, insurance is up, it's above the budget, that's bad, that's red. And you can't annotate on any reports in SD&A. So if we hover over this number here, we can see that we're over budget because of a new insurance policy increase. And we can also add comments at the row level to help provide further clarity around some of the financials. I think this is a great way to head off questions that you're going to get when you send out a report or a dashboard. A number is kind of out of the ordinary. You can just head off those potential questions that you may get with annotations and comments like we're seeing here. Report is drillable. Let's go ahead and put this onto a separate tab. And I'm going to drill down on this insurance amount that's over budget. You can drill down here. Categorizes my different transactions. Let's look at this largest insurance transaction. And now here's a hyperlink to drill back into the journal entry in X3. And once I get back to the journal entry, I got the ability to go back in, jump to the invoice quickly. And now I've got all the details of, who approved the invoice. If there's a scanned copy of the invoice attached, I would be able to see that there. This is one example of a report. This is a variation. We do, SD&A is delivered with the standard budget versus actual report. And this is just a variation of that report, and it includes some conditional formatting and some comments and other capabilities, but it's a variation of a standard report. Aging reports come standard with SD&A, so this is just We saw aging, pie charts or donut charts earlier. This is just the same type of data presented in a report format. And again, fully controllable if you need to change the layout of this. I've got my customers over here grouped into different channels. If you want to show them differently, maybe you don't want to group them. Maybe you want to group them geographically or some other way. It's easy to change these reports as well. And then lastly, I've got a inventory days of supply just as another example of a type of report that can be created with SDNA. And this, I'm just highlighting 3 here. This is just a very, very small sampling of the type of reports that you're going to get across the business, whether they be purchasing reports, sales reports, production reports, or some of the ones that we've looked at here. So this looks at various products. What do you have in stock, both in terms of quantities and dollars, and then looks at past sales to figure out how many days on hand you have for different SKUs. Looks like I'm about to stock out on this particular SKU. You can do alerting in SDNA. So if you wanted to set up an alert that says, if my days on hand falls below X, let's alert somebody of that, let them know what products have fallen below some defined threshold. So you can do that within SDNA. It's an alerting mechanism that we have. At this point, we're going to move on, and I guess quickly before I do that, just make mention of some of these other standard dashboards that I'm not going to cover today, but you're welcome to. We've got collateral on this that you're welcome to review to learn more about these dashboards. We've got a BP of sales dashboard, delivery performance dashboard, inventory, AP, and an expenses dashboard. Now I'd like to take a quick look at what it looks like to access insights outside of Sage X3. So I'm going to go to a new browser tab here. I'm going to open up this view that gives us access to all the reports and dashboards to which I have access from a security standpoint. You'll be able to organize your analytics into any folder structure that you'd like, what makes sense for the business, and then users will be able to access this information through a view like this. So I've got folders I've created. I've got one for finance. I got financial reports and other finance-focused reports here. Got some CRM insights, and I can use this structure to navigate and find reports. So let's go in. We'll go into supply chain. Maybe look at some additional procurement type insights, and we could pull up top 10 item stats. So here's a report. This is a standard report that's delivered with SDNA. So the point here is that users can access all the insights outside of the context of any Sage ERP system like we're doing here. I'm viewing these within a browser, but remember they're all accessible from tablets and mobile phones as well. So now I'd like to move in to see how quickly we can modify and create new reports for your business. We've seen a lot of pre-delivered reports and content, but what if you need to make adjustments? What would that look like? So let's go ahead and close this tab out here, and we're going to move into this view here. This is actually called the designer view, and this is where you can go in and make adjustments to reports, build out brand new reports, even modify dashboards. You also do other activities like doing data management work, which we'll see at the tail end of the demonstration here today. So this is an income statement. It's very similar to the budget versus actual report that we saw earlier. Instead of showing budgets and actuals and comparing against budgets, it actually shows companies here in the different columns that are basically grouped up into different regions. So I could expand US here, see different companies that fall under US. Maybe I want to drill down to a site or a location level below this company called NA Discrete. I could do that. And it leverages, by the way, the same report row set that we saw earlier, where we were able to kind of expand cost of goods sold and see the accounts that fell up underneath this. Now, what if we need to make changes to this? How would we do that? So if got this little edit button here, like a little pencil, we can go ahead and click this to modify the report. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and now we've got access to change information in the columns, change information in the rows. So I'm going to go ahead and click this query option here, and this will give me access to change the slicers at the top that we've reviewed, add additional filters to the report, maybe add new columns, add new rows. Now, one thing before I do that, it's a real important concept, and this applies to all the SD&A reports, is with SD&A, we're able to report on multiple disparate types of data, different types of data on a single report. So as an example here, I've got a financial report that includes financial data, but at the bottom, you'll notice that I've included the number of units that I've sold of my products over these same time periods. So this is the reports for 2019. In 2019, for my European companies, I sold 767 units of products. And then what I've done is I've done a calculation, kind of a KPI calculation that shows me the amount of revenue that I'm generating per unit sold. And what we've done here is we've actually accessed both financial data, in this case here, sales data, all in one report. There's no need to go in, update a bunch of statistical accounts in GL and synchronize data between X3 sales and the financial system, because with the report writing tool here, if I need to access HR data, I need to do revenue per head count. I need to access sales data like I'm doing here. I need to access production data. I can do that. So if we look at units sold here, that's actually one of my rows. Go ahead and click units sold, and we can just hover over this field here, and you can see this is showing the quantity of my products that have been invoiced, and it's coming straight from sales, as we can see here. So real important concept. A lot of reporting tools are good at financial reporting. That's all they do. Here we've got the ability to do reporting across the business, and we can mix and match types of data on a single report. Let's go ahead and cancel out of this change. Next, let's say we want to make a few changes to this report. It's all drag and drop. Maybe I want salaries to show up above other expenses. I can just take that row and drag it up. So let's say I want to rename this row here. So let's go ahead and rename salaries. We'll right click on this. We would do a rename member here, and we'll just call this demo. So I can do that. All the same type formatting that I have in Excel, underlines, changing a cell or a row or a column to currency or percents. I've got all that control. Here if we pick this cell, we can go in here and begin to change things like maybe change the font. So we'll change the font to an orange, and we can change the back color maybe to green. Maybe not the best layout, but the point here is that all that type formatting that you may be doing today and having to do in tools like Excel, you can do directly within SD&A. Let's say we want to make further changes. This is more of a kind of a company type, geographic type view. Let's say we wanted to look at the same P&L in a different way, maybe over different time periods, or maybe by cost center. How would I do that? So we'll go back up here to the query option where I have access to change my columns. I'm going to go ahead and take off, this is kind of the company geographic type view. We'll go ahead and remove that. And now I have access over here to, maybe add extra views into the column. So over here we've got what we call the dimension tree, and this is where I can look at data over different time periods, maybe by product or by project in different ways. So maybe we want to look at the same P&L by cost center. So we can come in here to cost center, open that up, and we'll add cost center in as a column. So now what we're looking at, we can go ahead and hide this. Looking at different P&Ls now for my different cost centers. So I've got marketing, IT, simple changes like that. So any segment or dimension of your chart of accounts, whether maybe you have a dimension for projects and you want to do project P&Ls, it's as simple as what I did here. You would just drag that dimension over, to your columns to make the update. So let's go back in. Maybe we want to look at the same report over different time periods. So I'm going to go ahead and remove cost center. Go into the date option here. We've got options to look at dates over, over the calendar year, over your fiscal year. We can support non-standard, fiscal years like 445s. So let's go ahead and look at this by calendar, and maybe we'll look at this by quarter. So I'm going to go ahead and add quarters in here. And now I can see, so I've got columns for quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. Maybe you want to focus in just on quarter 1. We could do that and then expand this. Now we see monthly, P&Ls by month. So like I said, any information over here up under this section here can be used to drag and drop and change the different rows that are showing on the report or the columns. In addition to picking kind of the predefined items over here, you can do custom calculations. So if we wanted to, let's just go ahead, simplify the report. We'll go ahead and take the date off of there. If you right click here, you've got access to an entire function library. Just like in Excel, you probably don't use every function in Excel today. I don't expect you'll ever use every function that we have available in this library. But the point is instead of having to dump data out to Excel to do calculations, you can leverage all these different functions in the function library. I had a CFO one time ask me to be able to show a moving average of their cash balance over the last 14 days. So what I did is I actually use this simple moving average function here to do exactly that. So I was able to go in and show that moving average balance of their cash account over the past 14 days using that function. In addition to more detailed type functions, you've got simple things like a custom formula. This would be similar to going in Excel and saying, take this column and divide it by another column or multiply it by some value. So we can come in here and under the formula, we could say, let's go ahead and add in the amount, and we will go in here and we'll multiply that, and we're just going to multiply it by a constant. We'll say, what if we could just increase everything by 40%? Actually, I did 0.1. Let's make that a 0.4 is what I meant to do. And then we can call this anything we want. So we'll call this, 40%. And I've already recognized that I've got an issue. It should be times 1.4 here. Duh. Let's do 1.4 and apply this. So here's my new column, 40% increase. So very similar to what you would do in Excel with a formula in there. You can do it here in the report writer. These type functions and formulas are available not only for the columns, but for the rows as well. As we saw in the budget versus actual report, you can annotate. So if we want to come in and annotate, on a cell here, we can do that, kind of head off the questions like we talked about. And I think those are the key things that I wanted to talk about. Mixing and matching the different types of data, easy to change the format. This is a neat concept. One more thing, you can set up the headers here to show, as I change the companies that are in the report. If I take off, say, company NA20, the header will be updated accordingly. So we'll take NA20 off of there, and NA20 is removed from the header. So, nice way if you're making selections and then you need to print a report out, you can have the titles update just to show the correct data that's included on the report. So next thing, I'd like to move on to a different type of report. Let's look at this sales by channel report and make some changes to this. So now we've moved on from modifying a financial report to looking at a sales report. We've got our customers grouped into different channels here. We can see how much we sold these customers, cost of sales, margins, both in terms of dollars and percentages. What if we need to change this? So we'll go back, we'll edit the report, and you'll notice we have our same dimension tree that we saw earlier. Let's go ahead and kind of clean that up. And these are all the different ways now that I can view data. So right now, this is a kind of a customer-centric view. I've got my customers grouped into different customer channels. But let's say we want to take maybe a product-centric view. I could come in here, remove this, go into products here, and maybe do the same type thing. Just change this over to a product-centric view. So now, same type view, I'm looking at my different product categories and the products that I sold. Maybe we want to kind of look at sales by sales rep. So we could come in here, go to sales rep. So let's first off look at sales that were made by sales rep and then by the different products. So we'll go ahead and put this in front of product stat groups. Now I can see sales the different sales reps have made and the types of products the sales reps are making. And I can collapse this up if I want to make it look a little cleaner like that. Let's just go ahead and simplify the report. We'll just make this a salesperson-centric report. So we'll go ahead and remove this from there. Now, any report in the system, this is kind of a report type view. If I want, I can turn on a chart view if I'd like. So to do that, I can come to this option here. I've got different options, and I can simply just turn on the chart. So here it's turned on, kind of a chart. So this is a bar chart of the sales data. Now I can make other changes to this. I can come in and maybe modify some of the data for the report. We'll go ahead and pick this. Maybe we want to just hone in on maybe only charting the amount of sales that I've made. So we'll go ahead and select that. Go into chart here, select the data, and I can even go back and maybe change the chart view. So now in here, and maybe I could change it to a pie chart. So now I can see, kind of in a pie chart format which sales reps are selling, the most. But there's other type views. I mean, I would expect to see in any BI tool, bar charts, pie charts. We also have other views. One of my favorites here in this case is called a word cloud. So I can select this, and this type view just jumps out at me that Gary Cox is selling more product than some of these other sales reps, like maybe James Nash. It's a good way to visualize certain types of data, and this is called a word cloud view. So just checking my notes here, I think I've covered most of the things that I wanted to show on this particular report. So we've looked at charting options. We've looked at changing some of the row data on this report like we have the others. We do support report packages. So if you're putting together your report packages for maybe management meetings, team meetings, maybe even packages of reports for your customers, you can build report packages in SDNA. Let's take a look at one. So I've got a report package here. First off, you'll select the various types of reports that are included in your report package. So we can go to our Resource Explorer here. And now at this point, we can pick any of the out-of-the-box reports or any custom reports that we've created from either our favorites or the different folder structure here. So maybe we want to add in a different type of report. We could simply maybe look at Work Center Load, add that in, and that becomes part of the report package. I'm going to take this out of here now, but the point is that you can add any reports that you'd like to your report packages. This area here, Repeat By, what this is going to do is it's going to collate these different reports into a nice package and separate and essentially create separate versions of each of these reports for, in this case, each of these different companies. So let's say we wanted to create a report package for maybe our sales reps. In that case here, for Repeat By, instead of putting companies in here, I would list my different sales reps. I would go in and create a report package that shows a set of different reports for different sales reps. And there's even a way, if I want to push out this package of reports to different individuals so that they only see their reports in the report package, you can do that as well. So once you get your report package built, you can go ahead and run it. Like I said, this can be scheduled to be sent out to different individuals automatically. We're going to go ahead and run this on demand. This will go through. It's it's creating all the different reports in the report package. It's going to add in a cover page, a table of contents, and it's going to do this for, in my case, the two companies that I selected. So I've got a cover page here. It's going to have your logo on it. Table of contents. So this default is actually the first company, and then the two reports for that company, and then moves on to the second company and the two reports for that company. Gives me the different page numbers here that the reports fall on. Scroll down a little. This is the sales report for the first company. This is a P&L for that first company, the discrete company. This is sales for the second company. and now a P&L for that second company, the process manufacturing company. You've got control to, if a report looks better or, is wide enough that it needs to be included in the package in landscape view like we see here, you can do that. You've got full control over how the package is put together, even to the point to where, you want to include things like cover pages. You can do that as we've seen here. As far as distribution of reports, here's an example here. I've got a report publication rule set up. This particular your distribution rule is going to send out this one report, sales by channel, and it's going to send it out to my different sales reps. So here's an example where I'm actually pushing out, in this case, just a single report. It could be a package of reports for that matter, to my sales reps. And I've put a little personalized message in here. Sales managers, please review your reports promptly and reply with your action plan. Sincerely, sales management. This can then be scheduled, so you can see under events here, there's a daily report distribution schedule that I've assigned to this report publication rule. So it will actually run every day and send these reports out at the time that I've specified. So an example of how reports can be distributed. So the next thing I'm going to move on to is I'm going to move on to that data management piece. So far, everything we've looked at has been centered around analytics, dashboards, KPIs, reports, how to modify those. But none of that is possible without data. SD&A will be delivered with access to all of your ERP data, sales data, inventory, purchasing, and that supports all the reports that we've seen so far. However, oftentimes you may have other data sources that you need to connect to. Maybe there's custom
calculations that you need to do. Maybe you need to have a custom calculation for commissions, and you want to have that shown on a report. Those all would be examples where you're going to need to do some level of data management to connect to that data and get it into a report ready format. So that's the other half of the solution that we've been talking about today. So let's go in. All data management is done through what we call a model. So this is my standard Sage X3 model that gives me access to connect to other data sources, to manage what we call pipelines. So think of pipelines as tables of data. So I'll have pipelines for sales data, I'll have pipelines for inventory, I'll have pipelines for my customers. So any data that you're working with will have an associated pipeline. And if you need to make changes to that type of data, maybe create new hierarchies, you'll do that under pipelines. Relationships, there's a section for managing that. Different roles, this is where you can go in and define the different roles and what type of data these roles have access to. So this is the security piece that's part of data governance. That's where you'll manage that. So first off, data sources, if I need to connect to, maybe I use Salesforce CRM and I need to connect to that. Maybe I've got a historical ERP system that I need to connect to. This is where you'll go in and to establish those new data connections. I can click data source here to create a new connection. And then all the standard connectors that we have are shown here. So if I need to connect to an Oracle database, I would check this off and it will walk me through a wizard where I can go in and define connection criteria, user IDs, passwords, database names that are needed in this case to connect to Oracle. And every one, I load a lot into my model. I've got a lot of Excel spreadsheets. Simple to load in, easy for me to maintain, to support demos. Same type concept here. You'll pick Excel, you'll find the Excel workbook, you'll pick the different worksheets within the workbook that you want to load in to the data model to manage within SD&A. A couple examples, I've got some HCM or HR data that I've loaded in some data to support trade promotion analysis that I've been doing. I had a sales forecast in this example that was created in an external system that I loaded in. So these are just examples of types of data you may connect to. Let's go ahead and collapse that. So once I establish a connection to the data, That will create pipelines, and I can now go in and manage these pipelines. If I go into pipeline here, I can search on my different pipelines. Maybe I need to manage the sales invoice pipeline. Maybe I need to add in a new type of data. I've got some users that are requesting a new type of data on a report. Our responsibility is to go in and manage the data here, so we'll go ahead and find that. Get the focus in here, sales. Let's go into sales invoices here. So we'll go into this pipeline. Now here we've got access to kind of the field names, in this case in SQL Server for X3, and those are the names that are in parentheses here. And then I've got all the plain English names. So all the reporting in SDNA leverages all the plain English names that are stored for Sage X3. So instead of having to, if I want to run a sales report by company, I'm doing it by company and not by a field called CPY_0. So the same thing, if I need to add a new column in, I've got users that are looking for a new column called rate type. So let's look for rate type here. Here it is. They're doing some reporting on foreign currency transactions, want to know about the rate type there. We'll go ahead and select that. This will now add the rate type field in. It's going through and doing what we call smart modeling over here, and it's already done. It's looking for relationships. So is the rate type data related to other data in the system? And if it finds relationships, it creates those automatically. So it's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us automatically through what we call smart modeling. So let's go ahead and look at that field. Rate type, P, here it is, they're alphabetized. We can select any field that we've added, and it will do a preview of the data here. So you can see it's got values 1 and 2. Now that's pretty meaningless, but you'll notice it's also added in this field called rate type label. So it did that automatically. And these are the names that are going to make sense to the end user. So if they want to run a report of transactions that used a daily rate versus a monthly rate, they're going to be able to do that. And that was added in automatically. We can actually go up here, if we go into lookup, you can see it's getting this data out of what we call an X3 local menu, and it created a relationship for that. So there's a lot of technical details, but if we were to try to do this on our own with a tool that didn't have smart modeling, I'd have to not only access this field, I'd have to create a relationship to the table that had the descriptive name for this field. I'd have to add it in. All this has been done automatically for me with that smart modeling. If I need to add custom calculations, I could come in here and, column A plus column B, do a, maybe I need to have a case statement to calculate commissions using, different cases. I could do that. You can do different steps here. So if I need to take this data and maybe, union it with other data. So we actually use the union step if we need to pull together sales data from X3 plus your legacy ERP system. We use a union step for that. So this is kind of how some of that magic that happens behind the scenes, how it's done. It's done through the union step. If we need to aggregate data up, I've had cases where I've needed to aggregate data for reporting purposes. There's a step for that. And other, I'm not going to go into all the technical details, but these steps really come in handy in preparing data that you need for reporting. So I think that covers off on kind of the high level. Go ahead and close out the sales invoice pipeline. No, I'm not going to save those changes. I don't really need to do any reporting on that. And I think we've talked about the key components from a data management standpoint that are included with SDNA. So, key point is very different than many traditional BI solutions here that are only analytics focused solutions. With SDNA, we have the data management piece plus the analytics, as we've seen here. Let's go ahead and close some of these tabs out. And let's go back to our Resource Explorer here. And I want to open up this enterprise dashboard. And we kind of started the day here. I think this was the first dashboard that we looked at. And I'd like to go ahead and kind of make a change to this before we close out the demonstration. So I'm going to go back to our pencil here, throw it back in edit mode. Now let's go down to this design option here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to clear out and just make sure that this chart's selected here. Maybe I want to replace this part of the dashboard with some other content. So let's go in, we're going to clear the contents out of here. If I needed to, I could kind of resize some things around and make room for this new charter report that I'm going to include in this section. Going to go back into the Resource Explorer. And I know we've looked at sales by channel. Maybe that's an important report that I want to include in this section, so I can go ahead and drag it in here. Now we see our sales by channel. Not the best fit in the world, but the idea is the dashboards are easy to modify. Go ahead and shrink that down a little. Save our change. Going to go back into X3 and go back to where we started in X3, and you can see now this sales report shows up here. So hopefully, throughout the demonstration, you've been able to get a good feel for, the out-of-the-box analytics that we include, how easy it is to modify the content and the data management capabilities. So, the pre-built analytics is going to give you basically immediate value. It's going to help you gain new insights into your business. The ability to easily customize reports and dashboards is going to help support that as well. Lastly, all this supports better informed decision making. It's going to enable better decisions across the organization. So thanks very much for your time today, and thanks for watching.